I want to go to this. It's a very serious topic. Oregon State Police taser autistic child found wandering naked. Now, this is a situation. I just want to read this this quote right here. The girl's father also took issue to KDRV's reportage, which frequently referred to the girl as a young woman, and a juvenile. Now, this is a 11-year-old girl who was found wandering naked down the highway. A gentleman, I believe he was a taxi driver, pulled up beside her and said, "Hey, are you okay? Are you lost? Are you like what's going on here?" And the girl doesn't listen to him. She just keeps walking down the street. She turns out to be autistic and has communication issues. The gentleman, cab driver, calls the police. The police come up, and just like you see there, they tased the girl and then put her on the hood of a car like she's in some type of drug bust, or they thought she was running guns or something. And yeah, that's the taxi driver right there giving his testimony. And you can go to Infowars.com and see that video for yourself. But we actually have the girl's father who's going to be joining us. His name is Aram. He's very emotional, and rightly so. You know, this guy has every right to be outraged. This is a horrible situation because we see the situations where they taser people for noncompliance, tase people who have seizures, and tase people who don't want to stand up or sit down or whatever the drill may be at the time, and then they just tase this person and think they did the right thing. So we're going to have him. He joins us right now via Skype. All right, thanks for joining us, Aram.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I know this is a very difficult time, and you got a lot of emotions, and I understand you've been talking to some other news agencies, so definitely want you at your best. You just let it fly. Tell us what happened. You receive, I'm guessing, a phone call telling you this has happened to your daughter.
Yeah, well, what happened is, well, obviously, it was the middle of the night. We were sleeping. The phone was ringing at 6:30 in the morning, and we got a call saying that we have your daughter down at the Rogue Valley Medical Center here in Southern Oregon. And we're like, what in the world? And so we run in the room. We're like, it's got to be a mistake. And sure enough, she's not there. So we're like, holy crap, you know. She's has escaped before, but never in this manner. It's typical of autistic kids, or certain autistic kids, to boogie. You know, they just like to get out and go for an adventure. And once they put their line of sight down a direction, they just keep going. So we're like, holy crap. So we go down there, and once we get her, we find out that the state police, in the process of apprehending her, had to tase her 2 times.
Oh, my gosh. Now, let's just talk about the tasering, okay? So your daughter, she's walking down the street. I saw the video with the cab driver, I believe it was. He was the witness to the thing. He says your daughter's walking down the street. She's not, you know, hindering anybody. You know, of course, that's a very unsafe situation for anybody to be, not just a child. But so the police approach your daughter. They issue 2 verbal commands, if I'm correct, and then fire on her with a taser. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. But also, I mean, she was in a non-threatening manner. She was giggling. She wasn't in a, you know...
she wasn't aggressive.
She wasn't aggressive. She wasn't in some agitated state. She was giggling. And I mean, I can picture, I know my daughter, she was probably running down the road thinking it was the best thing in the world, you know. Mm-hmm. She was probably, the cab driver said she was giggling, and that's just typical. She just thinks this is really cool. So when the state police pull up, rather than approach the situation in trying to apprehend her, you know, physically, and it's obvious she has no weapons. It's obvious she's not a threat. They give her 2 verbal commands and then tase her. And then once they tased her, she obviously got excited. Right. And then they had to tase her again.
Is she on the ground? Does she go down with the first taser? She
went down. And then they tried to apprehend her. But once, you know, the taser comes out, she got scared. And a lot of autistic kids have a lot of strength. They have kind of an abnormal amount of strength, especially when you're excited. When you get hit with a taser, your adrenaline starts pumping. You know, prior to that, she was giggling. But then they had to physically apprehend her. They had to get other help. They did the normal, you know, like they're apprehending a dangerous criminal.
Right.
They slammed her head on the hood of the car, handcuffed her, threw her in the back of the police car when she would have gone voluntarily. I know my daughter, she loves cars. If anybody drives up to her, if she's walking along, she just hops right in the car because she loves cars. That's one of her characteristics, you know, of her particular view of
just
whatever.
her characteristic. Now, I want to ask you, because you have I'm pretty sure you can get a lot of people talking negatively about you and your family saying, well, what was this girl doing outside at this hour anyway, especially with no clothes on? How did this situation come about?
Well, it's not the first time. It's not the first time. She is very well known with the local police and emergency services, and also with the community. Everyone knows her. They know her characteristics, so it wasn't within the community. And also, she is involved in state custody with DHS or CPS, for more of on a services level rather than them trying to take her, which they do want to do. They want to put her in an institution eventually, I'm pretty sure.
Have they told you this before, that they want to take her, or is that your observation?
No, that's their intent eventually, I'm sure. And that was their intent a long time ago, but we provided a safe environment for her, and we've had her all her life. She's never actually been in a foster home or anything like that. But there has been various foster homes kind of salivating at getting a hold of her because they can get a lot of money for having them, or
of course,
having her in their care, because she's an extra special needs child, and they can get a lot of money if she goes in one of those foster homes.
Exactly. Now let's talk about her condition at the time. So she's out walking around and she happens to be nude. Is this something unusual for your daughter?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, that's absolutely normal. I know it sounds strange to a lot of people, but she has a sensory thing about her skin. She takes her clothes off all the time, and that's one of the problems with her being in an institution, is that
Well, that'd be a real problem if she was taken to an institution, a juvenile center, lo and behold, a jail. They're going to have this person who doesn't want to keep their clothes on, and that's going to be a real problem.
It's going to be a real problem, because most of these institutions that they keep these kids in are also, you got to worry about the staff, you got to worry about the other, the other clients. It's a real problem. She's a lot better off at home than in an institution. I can guarantee you that, and a lot safer, even though these things might happen. But they're still going to have the same problems in an institution unless they lock her down completely and basically imprison her. So some people's argument is, well, it's better to imprison her and save her life than let her have a life with her family and, have some risks. There's going to be risks with a child like this wherever they are. It's a struggle. We had an emergency meeting about it with the state, and the state has actually been pretty supportive. I'm not sure if it's because they don't know where to place her and they don't have the funding, or if it's because they're genuinely concerned. I'm hoping that it's over time there has been a community of people like her teachers and a community of people that have really kind of surrounded her and supported us. Yeah, and supported us against the state, because I've had experience with the state on this level of DHS. It's here in Oregon, but it's basically CPS.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kept her safe, is a lot of that community support and outreach, because this has happened before. And
but not to this extent where police were involved with tasers and so forth.
Yeah, not in the middle of the night and not naked.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Now, is your daughter at home with you right now? Is she back safe and sound? Is she in custody? Where is she at this moment?
She's at grandma's right now.
Okay, so she's at least in your custody. She's not of the state right now. Okay.
No, she's in our custody. Yep.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you, sir, this is obviously something that's very near and dear to your heart, something that you are very emotional about. Let's say, lo and behold, one of these incidents happens to happen again. What do you think would happen? Even if it's not on this level that the police were involved, you're saying that, they're itching to take your child away. Do you think they may try to take your child away?
Well, I think one of the problems, I think they would have done so if she wasn't such a unique case and they could find a place to put her. But I think eventually there are various institutions, and they have been expressed to us, that want her. And there are a few different facilities that, like I said, are kind of salivating to get a kid like this, because they can get so many resources for this child. And once they get her, of course, they're going to drug her up and basically imprison her.
Oh, yeah.
and get a lot of federal receipts and state receipts for having her. So to other parties, you know, she's a kind of a gold mine, you know, until for the rest of her life, basically.
Right. Right.
And facilities do not have the same patience and understanding that a family member has when she has an outburst. She is very, you know, strong. She does trapeze. She's very physically fit. And she does have outbursts where, you know, she'll scratch you or anything like that. Yeah.
So then her physical safety becomes an issue. Even though she's a child and she may lash out, then she has to deal with a adult supervisor. And I know your time is short, and also this is very emotional for you. So we're going to wrap this thing up. And also, I believe we're going to have you on the Alex Jones radio show pretty soon. But I just want to ask you this question. What do you think about the local news coverage? Could I watch the clip where they were interviewing the cab driver, and they kept referring to your daughter as a young woman or a juvenile? Your daughter is 11 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's 11 years old, and that wasn't the first time. We'd already complained about it in the when we read the first emergency services article in the paper, where they referred to her as a late teen and a woman. And we called up and said, look, this is not a woman. This is not only an 11-year-old kid, but a handicapped kid at that.
Right.
And they followed up with a news segment where they still called her a woman. Now, the last time I checked, an 11-year-old kid is not a woman, especially one that is handicapped.
Right.
Handicapped. So it seems to me like they want to call her a woman to somehow kind of create an atmosphere where it's okay to tase an 11-year-old kid. You know?
An 11-year-old is not a child. It's not even a teen. And they have the audacity to call her a young woman, I guess in some reports put it, a juvenile, so forth, but she's an 11-year-old little girl. She's a little girl.
She's a little girl, and mentally she's even littler. You know, she's not a woman by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly. Now, I know your time is short. Can you just give us your closing thoughts?
Well, I think that police training has really gotten to this level where they don't really care about who they're interacting with. They just react in whatever's the most convenient, easiest way to deal with whatever they're dealing with. And if that means tasing or shooting them with a gun, then that's just how they react. And police never are concerned with dealing with people as people. They look at everybody as a potential criminal that might hurt them, so it's better to shoot them first rather than kind of be diplomatic and deal with the situation. It's just oh, here's someone that's naked running down the road, tase. And if that didn't work, you know, what, would they have shot her? Isn't the taser the primary barrier between shooting? So what's next? You know, that didn't work. Police tactics really need to get some additional training on dealing with handicapped kids, because there are thousands and thousands of kids, just like my daughter, across this country right now.
Right.
Autism is an epidemic.
Let me, I know I said that's the last question, but let me ask you this, because you'll get a lot of critics out there and say, well, they tased her, but he would have thrown a fit, have the cops come up and maybe grabbed her or put their hands on her. How do you think the situation should have been resolved?
She ain't like that. I mean, she's not afraid of strangers. She doesn't care about if you're a stranger or whatever. You can walk up, grab her hand, and get her in the car, no problem.
So you would have been perfectly fine if the officer, you know, even if she was non-compliant verbally, which you say she has difficulties in that area, but the officer came, took her by the hand, maybe even gently nudged her by the shoulder, said, hey, get into this police car. Would you be fine with that scenario?
Well, absolutely. I'm happy that she's home safe, even though she was tased. I'm just happy that she's home safe. So it's kind of a mixed emotional thing. It's like, okay, well, if you had to tase her to save her life, okay, fine. I'm just glad she's home and she's safe, and I'm appreciative that the police were there. I mean, when you need the police and they're there, it's a wonderful thing. But some of their tactics and training really need some work. You know, it's mixed emotions.
Right. Well, I got you, and I definitely appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you on the Alex Jones radio show very soon.
All right. Thanks, Jakari.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. And there he goes. And like I said, he will be joining us on the Alex Jones radio show very soon, so be sure to tune in for that. Now, we're going to go to a clip. This is a clip a caller called in. He said, hey, have you guys seen this? This is Senator Rockefeller at a roast of Pat Buchanan saying, hey, you need to join the New World Order.
You know, I think Pat's coming quickly. Soon, I think he's going to be in a position for the Trilateral Commission. And if he shows promise beyond that, there's Bilderberg. World control, Pat. Settle for nothing else.
People were laughing at these very unfunny jokes. I had to laugh because nothing he said was funny, not even like being dead serious. He just wasn't funny. I guess they had the big telescreens, applause, laugh, or whatever it said. And I'm very curious. I believe we're to the point now where the mainstream media admits that there is a Bilderberg. This guy was joking about it back in 1991. Not just that, but the Trilateral Commission, which I hope people accept the Trilateral Commission of actually existing. But this man was making jokes about it back in 1991, but it never existed until, BBC decided to make fun of Alex Jones for covering it. But that's the media coverage we're dealing with. Now, we're going out to our quote of the day. This is a very good quote. John Bound found this. It's really pretty good. Let's take a look. This is from Michael Hastings. The simple and terrifying reality forbidden from discussion in America was that despite spending $600 billion a year on the military, despite having the best fighting force in the world has ever known, they were getting their asses kicked by illiterate peasants who made bombs out of manure and wood. That by Michael Hastings. And he makes a very good point here because people think about AK-47s, AR-15, small arms, as they're called, and they say, well, you can't defend yourself from a foreign government or maybe even a local government using these things. Let's say if Russia decided, hey, we just want to come in and storm Florida for whatever reason. They say the people in Florida can't defend themselves with AK-47s and AR-15s because what if the Russians have drones, or they have tanks, or they have this, or they have that? Think about people in Afghanistan, people in Iraq who are using old, busted up AK-47s that, lo and behold, still work, but they're able to fight off this this threat using these, outdated weapons. Because it's not so much the weapon, it's the holder and also the intent of the person. Because you think about a occupying army, this is their GI Bill. This is how they're going to send their kids to school, retirement fund or whatever else. When you go and occupy somebody's country, you're living in their backyard. So when you build this big giant base, like, hey man, my goat should be out there grazing across the field over there that you just built your big thing on, and then you shot my uncle last week because he was wearing the wrong kind of thing on his head. And people get mad about this kind of stuff, and they have a will to fight, and it works well, great for the people in Afghanistan and all these other places. The Syrian rebels, which I don't support one bit, but you see these guys out there being effective with their AK-47. So those things obviously work and are able to keep people at bay. But yet, I digress. We have reached the end of the show, or at least the end of the news portion of the show. And keep in mind, Operation Paul Revere is still going on. Well, the submissions are over. Let me be clear about that. But we're still in the judging process. So be encouraged. I believe they're going to announce it, actually, the winners at the end of July. So stay tuned for that. We'll be doing updates and having more people on the show to talk about their great films and what motivated them to make them. So stay tuned for that. But the end of July, I believe, is the actual announcement for Operation Paul Revere. And also, that's a good thing, you can go to Paul Revere at Infowars.com and send us your favorite video. And we're requesting that you only send one video per email. You can send multiple emails if you choose, but we do ask you to narrow it down to at least your top 2 or 3 and just say, hey, I think this was best. And not just tell us what you think was best, but tell us why. I like this guy's cinematography, I like the message, or I like the actors, or whatever it may be. Just send us your email and let us know, and we'll take that all in consideration. Now, if you want to support this operation, go to prisonplanet.tv and get yourself a 15-day free trial. You can get it all right there, the Alex Jones Show, the rants, and so much more right there. Now, stick around because after this, we're going to have 2 very powerful interviews, one with Mike Cargill that I'm going to do, and also Alex Jones's interview with Viggo Mortensen. That's right, the guy from The Lord of the Rings, the king in The Lord of the Rings. He called into the Alex Jones radio show today, so we're going to have that whole interview as well as Mike Cargill right after this.
Now you can watch Alex Jones live at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
You can also browse the network, the Infowars Nightly News,
and over 60 movies and documentaries all together in one place.
You can watch the Alex Jones radio show live as it happened.
So check it out, Infowars.com/show.
The important thing about the Pro One filter today is that the material we use for removing fluoride and other heavy metals now will remove the latest form of fluoride called hydrofluorosilicic acid. There's no other fluoride reduction filter out there that will remove that type of fluoride. And it's extremely important because today we're hearing more and more cities are using that form of fluoride.
We've been having medication forced on us through the water system for quite a while. Most people don't realize it. Most people don't realize the negative effects of fluoride.
There's a wide range of health effects that are attributed to fluoride.
Bottom line, why should somebody get this new Pro One ProPure filter?
The reason to buy the Pro One, it's an all-in-one filter. It's convenient, easy to use. It doesn't require the add-on fluoride filter. And in addition, this filter removes the latest form of fluoride called hydrofluorosilicic acid.